Okay, all eyes are on Cyclone Alfred this afternoon. It's currently just over 200 kilometres east of Brisbane. It is slow moving, around 10 kilometres an hour to the west. You see the centre is just above or just to the north of the main activity, which is on the southern side. You see those rain bands spiralling around the centre. Showers and winds are increasing along the coast today. Now, we have had an update of the track just around half an hour ago and the warning as well. So the warning is still current for the same area, extending from Double Island Point right down to Grafton in New South Wales. That's a cyclone warning that indicates that gales are imminent or can commence within 24 hours. In fact, we are seeing some damaging wind gusts today already. And as far as the track goes, there hasn't been too much change. Still expecting slow moving towards the coast and slower still as it approaches. Now, that will do two things. First, as it starts to interact with the land, it will just lose a bit of its strength. So we are expecting landfall now, Category 1 strength around early morning, the very early hours of Saturday morning. But that Category 1 or 2 really doesn't make much difference, because when we're looking at the slowing down of the track, that just means that the length of time that communities are going to be exposed to these very strong winds and the very intense rainfall is just even longer. So this will be a very significant impact of a cyclone indeed. So rainfall to 9 a.m. this morning, heaviest through the hinterland, inland from around Coffs Harbour and the northern rivers. We saw over 230 millimetres at Dorrigo, around 168 at Mullumbimby. And since 9 a.m. today, those showers have continued along the coast. Since 9 a.m, we've seen rainfall totals around 20 to 40 in some spots just through the eastern slopes of the northern rivers there as well. Winds have been very strong. As I said, we've been seeing some damaging wind gusts along that coastal fringe. Since 9 a.m, we've had the strongest ones being at 100 kilometres an hour at Cape Byron and also up at Cape Morton as well, 98 kilometres an hour. Those winds will continue to strengthen from later today. And because of all this weather, on top of the cyclone warning for that more restricted area, the severe weather warnings extend much further afield, all the way down towards near Kempsey in New South Wales and further inland, as Cyclone Alfred's winds and rain make its presence felt over a large area. So we've got that severe weather warning for damaging to locally destructive winds and heavy to locally intense rainfall. Some spots could see peak rainfall totals over 6 hours of 200 to 250 millimetres developing through Friday, particularly through the northern rivers of New South Wales and near the cyclone centre where it crosses the coast. On top of that, we've still got a coastal hazards warning for that same stretch of coastline. That's for abnormally high tides and damaging surf as well. We've seen those really large waves in excess of 12 metres recorded off the Gold Coast yesterday. Okay, so as we go further ahead now, let's look at how the rain and wind will intensify. So as we head into tonight, we'll see the rain and wind really pick up through the Northern Rivers District and the Gold Coast at first. That's later today and tonight. Then as we extend into the early hours of Friday, pisting through Friday and Saturday, as Alfred gets closer to the coast, the rain and wind impacts extend. And as Alfred crosses the coast or gets very close to in the late hours of Friday, early hours of Saturday morning, we can see those wind and rain impacts continue once Alfred moves inland. That's why the threat of this cyclone, doesn't matter whether it's a 2 or a 1 when it crosses the coast, the impacts will be very significant because the length of time that the wind and rain will last. Now, of course, the rainfall totals, as I said, peak totals are around 2 to 250 in 6 hours. Over 24 hours, the peak totals could be around 350 to 450. And of course, this rain continuing for a few days. So unsurprisingly, the heaviest rainfall's on that southern side of the cyclone where all those winds are blowing onshore. And unsurprisingly, we've got flood watches and flood warnings current for large parts of the coast.